Everything began with the rain that didn't fall. In the summer of 2042, the skies over Syria, Lebanon, and Jordan remained stubbornly clear. Reservoirs dried, crops withered, and entire villages were left with nothing but cracked earth and air thick with heat. Farmers stared helplessly at their barren fields, once rich with wheat and olives. Aid agencies called it the worst drought of the 21st century, blaming climate change, El Niño, and poor infrastructure. But behind closed doors in Jerusalem, the truth had a different name: Operation Sahar. It was a top-secret initiative born out of desperation and ambition. After years of water scarcity, political isolation, and agricultural decline, the Israeli government authorized a covert project to manipulate regional weather patterns. The objective: control the skies, deny water to enemy nations, and force them into economic submission. At the heart of the operation was a facility buried deep beneath the Negev desert, a vast underground complex known only as Mishor 7. There, Israeli scientists worked with climate engineers, cyber meteorologists, and retired Mossad agents. Their technology, developed through decades of experimentation with aerosolized stratospheric particles and satellite-directed ionosphere pulses, had finally matured. With precision, atmospheric injection, and orbital reflectors, they could steer jet streams, dissolve storm clouds, and engineer artificial high-pressure zones. The mastermind behind the system was Professor Noam Bar-Lev, a brilliant but reclusive climatologist. For years he had warned the government about climate collapse, but when Netanyahu's administration offered him full funding and classified autonomy to build a defensive climate shield, he accepted, on one condition: the system would only be used defensively. He was betrayed. By mid-2043, Operation Sahar was fully active. Lebanon's Bekaa Valley turned to dust. Syrian citrus farms collapsed. Jordan's refugee camps swelled with malnourished children. And as surrounding countries begged for international aid, Israeli agriculture blossomed. Exports doubled. Netanyahu, still prime minister despite international condemnation, declared the era of Israeli climate resilience a triumph of Zionist science. But the system had flaws: unintended feedback loops, untested frequencies, and unpredictable interactions with Earth's natural weather cycles. Internal memos warned of possible regional destabilization. Bar-Lev demanded shutdown protocols. He was ignored. Then came the pulse. On January 14, 2044, an atmospheric anomaly struck. A high-frequency resonance feedback caused a cascading collapse in jet stream patterns. Rain stopped everywhere, not just in the targeted countries, but in Israel, too. The Sea of Galilee dropped 10 meters. The Negev wheat fields yellowed, then browned, then vanished. Inside Mishor 7, panic spread. Engineers couldn't reverse the effect. The system, designed for precision, was now broadcasting instability across entire hemispheres. Artificial drought had become uncontrollable. In a sealed briefing room under the Knesset, Netanyahu listened as generals and scientists pleaded for options. He stood silently, arms crossed, his face a mask of calculation. Finally he spoke. "If we admit fault, the world will destroy us. If we shut it down, others will rebuild it. This is no longer about weather. This is about survival." From that moment on, Mishor 7 became a state secret of the highest order. All data was classified. Foreign embassies were fed disinformation. International watchdogs were stonewalled. Whistleblowers disappeared. And Professor Noam Bar-Lev, haunted by the monster he had created, became the last hope for truth. In April 2044, Bar-Lev went dark. He had escaped the facility with a hard drive of classified files, schematics, protocols, weather disruption logs, and internal government emails. He resurfaced weeks later in Zurich under a new identity. Through encrypted channels, he contacted journalist Layla Haddad, a Palestinian-American climate reporter working with The Guardian. Their encrypted exchanges formed the basis of the most damning exposé in modern history. It was called the Drought Conspiracy. Published in June 2044, the report stunned the world. Weather engineering, weaponized drought, state-sanctioned ecological warfare, it read like dystopian fiction. But the evidence was irrefutable. Satellite images, signal logs, testimonies from scientists and technicians. The report claimed Israel had committed not just environmental crimes, but crimes against humanity. The backlash was immediate. Protests erupted from Geneva to Johannesburg. UN emergency sessions were convened. Sanctions were imposed. The ICC opened an investigation. For the first time in decades, global pressure united against Israel. Not over borders or settlements, but over water, the very essence of life. Netanyahu denied everything. He claimed it was anti-Semitic propaganda, orchestrated by hostile nations and rogue academics. Bar-Lev, now in hiding under UN protection, responded with a simple statement: water was weaponized, science was corrupted, and the truth was buried beneath the desert. By late 2044, Israel itself was collapsing under the weight of its own invention. The kibbutzim rationed water by the spoonful. The IDF imported bottled supplies for its bases. Urban greenhouses went silent. And yet, Mishor 7 remained operational, its core systems autonomous, its algorithms unable to distinguish enemy from ally. Inside Israel, dissent grew, civil society fractured. A group of former IDF officers and environmentalists formed a resistance cell, Sha'ar Mayim, Gate of Water. Their goal: infiltrate Mishor 7 and shut the system down permanently. Bar-Lev, dying from stress-induced heart failure, sent one final transmission before collapsing in a Geneva hospital. You can't reverse a broken sky, but you can stop pretending it's natural. On December 2, 2044, the Sha'ar Mayim operatives breached Mishor 7. After a 12-hour standoff, they reached the core reactor. With limited time and outdated access codes, they triggered a shutdown protocol that had been buried deep in the original design, one that Bar-Lev himself had hidden without telling his handlers. The system went silent, and the sky wept. Rain returned to the Levant in January 2045, first as drizzle, then as storms, then as monsoons. Rivers overflowed, hills turned green, but the healing was uneven. Years of artificial drought had cracked the balance. In some areas, the rain brought rebirth. In others, it triggered mudslides, floods, and chaos. The consequences could not be undone. Netanyahu, now facing trial in The Hague, remained defiant. In his closing statement, he said, "I gave my people control over nature. I gave them rain when the world had none. And for that, I am condemned. History will judge who saved lives and who let them starve." Bar-Lev's final writings were published posthumously in a book titled Chronicles of a Manufactured Sky. In it, he warned, "Science is not evil, but in the hands of those who believe they deserve dominion over others, it becomes divine cruelty. One day, the skies will remember." And the skies do remember, even now.